Hey, I'm Callie. Thanks so much for watching Graceland Online. Graceland Church exists to see lives transformed in the neighborhoods, the generations, and the nations through Jesus Christ. The teaching that you're about to hear is based on the Bible, and we believe that it will be inspiring and relevant to your life. And if you're here because you're searching for answers to tough questions and looking for help on how to navigate life, we would love for you to text us with any questions or if you just need someone to talk to. And again, thanks for watching Graceland Online. We're praying for you, and we hope that this video will be an encouragement to you on your spiritual journey.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode of Graceland Online. My name is Nate. I serve as one of the leaders here at Graceland, and the month of May, as I mentioned in the last episode, is Mental Awareness Month. Mental Awareness Month. It's really not a month that maybe perhaps a lot of us think about, but increasingly it's gaining traction, I think, in people's lives and relationships, friendships, marriages, families, because we want to be people who are emotionally healthy. We're emotional beings. You're an emotional person. I'm an emotional person. I don't mean when I say that you and I are an emotional person that we're up and down, though at times we are. I mean the fact that God has created all things. He's created you and He's created me, and God is an emotional God, and consequently we are, with the very part of who we are, emotional being. Here's this facet of who we are. So we want to express our emotions in healthy ways, right ways, beneficial ways. And last time I talked about depression and even maybe a close cousin, anxiety and worry that really probably all of us in some form or fashion have struggled with. What I want to do today, just for the next several minutes, is talk about anger. Anger, I think, perhaps is one of the most common emotions that people express, that people, I would say, maybe struggle with, engage with. One person said in a book called Uprooting Anger, a guy named Robert Jones said that people are either anger concealers or anger revealers. Anger revealers are the people where we say you're walking on the proverbial eggshells because you don't know how they're going to respond, how they're going to react to something that you say or don't say or don't do. The anger concealer is the man, the woman, the boy, girl who is icy cold in their response and interaction with you. So anger is something that touches all of our lives. You know, in the Bible says throughout the scriptures, be angry and do not sin. The word sin is a word that stands for things that we do, things that we say, and things that we think that are not helpful, that would be, according to God and the Bible, in opposition to what God says in the Word, that undermine who we are and aren't helpful to love God and aren't helpful to love other people. And so we see this command, be angry and don't do wrong. It seems like an impossible task. How do I get angry and do it in a way that's constructive? You know, there's a definition that I heard from a counselor that I wrote, that I read in a book years ago. I don't remember the name of the book, but I remember this definition, which is kind of bizarre, that I would remember a definition, but not the name of a book. And here's the definition. Anger is a whole person response towards some perceived injustice that's thrust upon you. I know that's a mouthful, so let me say it again. Anger is a whole person response towards some perceived injustice that's thrust upon you. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm driving and someone cuts me off, or I'm in a conversation and someone slights or maligns my character, or I'm not privy to information, or I'm not invited to a particular party or group gathering, when I feel like there has been some type of injustice thrust upon me, it is amazing how every facet of Nathan Millican is focused upon the injustice. My feelings, my actions, my words, my thoughts, my disposition, everything's focused upon how in the world would you do that to me? Do you know who I am? And that injustice, that seeming injustice that's thrust upon us. Anger is a whole person response. Action, thoughts, feelings, words, thoughts. Whole person response towards some perceived injustice that's thrust upon you. So what do you do? What do you do when you get angry? You've heard the expression, he or she flew off the handle. Well, that's not helpful. Think about the imagery there, right? You got an axe head, and you swing that thing, and you're explosive in your anger or icy cold in your anger, and they're about to fly, and she's about to fly off the handle like an axe head is about to fly through the air and get lodged in your forehead. Not a pretty sight, not something that's encouraging. You're going to jail if that happens, right? So what do we do with regards to anger and expressing it in helpful ways, beneficial ways? Here's 3 A's. The one would be to analyze why we get angry. Why do we have angry, resentful, bitter, sometimes thoughts, actions, feelings of rage? Why? I think questions are a great tool to ascertain why we do what we do, why we feel the way that we feel, and why we think the way that we think. Have you ever asked yourself, why did I think that way? Why am I so upset? Why did I get so angry? Why am I so frustrated and irritated with this person? Questions help to examine the motives and the inner workings of our heart. So analyze. It's not enough just to analyze it, right? We want to admit that oftentimes I'm the problem. Oftentimes you're the problem. There's a guy named C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was a philosopher. He lived several years ago, a theologian. He wrote a lot of books. And he says, quoting another guy named Augustine, who lived hundreds of years ago, he says that the reason why we do what we do in terms of unhelpful things, unhelpful thoughts, unhelpful words, unhelpful actions is because we have disordered loves. Disordered loves. We're supposed to love God with every facet of who we are. We're supposed to love the people around us, but oftentimes for me, and I would imagine for you as well, we love the things in our life that it's okay to love, but we love them to a degree that we shouldn't love. And when somebody violates that love, when somebody doesn't appreciate our affection, when somebody doesn't acknowledge our pursuit, we get offended because the issue and the root of our problems is a disordered love. So you want to ask the question, what is my disordered love? Why did I do what I do? And then the second A, which I think is really hard, is to admit that we're the problem more often than not. You know, I've been married going on 19 years. I've got 4 kids. And when I first got married, I thought I was a pretty selfless person. I thought I was a pretty giving person, a pretty compassionate person. But the longer I've been married, the more I realized I am really selfish. And I'd really prefer you not to tell people that, all right? And I am a guy that really likes my preferences and my comforts and my conveniences. And I've grown in my marriage to understand oftentimes the root of the problem is me. And so I want to analyze, I want to admit, and then thirdly, I want to move to action. It's not enough just to analyze things and to really have a good assessment on things. It's not enough just to even acknowledge and admit that we're the problem so often, which is the case. We want to be moved to action. We want to change, right? I mean, I know you're watching this and you might be thinking about somebody else who has been angry, perhaps a parent, perhaps a spouse or a friend, a boss, a coworker, and they have flown off the handle. And they have said things, done things that have been deeply hurtful, that have wounded you, and you think, man, I wish they would analyze things. I wish they would admit that they're a problem, but I don't want them just to stay there. I want them to change. I want them to be moved to action. And we want to change. All of us want to change. All of us know, religious or irreligious, spiritual, non-spiritual, Christian, non-Christian, all of us, I would hope, would readily acknowledge, another A, that we've not arrived. None of us are perfect. None of us always does what is right. None of us always serves and thinks and loves people the way that we would like to be thought of and to be served and to love. And so we want to move towards action. How do you do that? This is where we always want to, in some form or fashion, point you to truth and point you to a person. Not me, not Ryan, not Tim. Both those guys have been on Graceland Online, but we want to point you to Jesus. Here's the amazing thing about Jesus. You and I, so often, as we live in a broken world, are the recipients of brokenness. We're the victims of hurt and unkindness and mean-spiritedness and injustice. and we ourselves do that with others, right? And for us to respond graciously, kindly, patiently, mercifully, sometimes it's like an act of God. It is for me. When somebody is rude and unkind, cuts me off, maligns my character, it's really difficult for me to respond not in like manner. And yet when you look at the scriptures, the Old and New Testament, which comprise this book that we call the Bible, Jesus is this amazing figure, this amazing person who, though he was betrayed, though his character was maligned, though people used all sorts of things and called him all sorts of names and undermined him and eventually orchestrated a plan to bring about his murder and succeeded, yet that was part of God's plan. Maybe an episode for another day. The Bible says in a book called 1 Peter, a guy named Peter wrote it to people who were going through really difficult times. And he says, hey, one of the ways in which you can actually not respond in like manner, one of the ways that you can be distinct, one of the ways that you can be different, one of the ways that you can show that Jesus has really changed you is by looking to Jesus, who though when he was ridiculed and maligned, he did not respond in like manner. Jesus never was unkind. Jesus never maligned someone's character. Jesus never was sinfully angry. Jesus never flew off the handle. And so what we want to do continually, as we think about emotions and mental awareness month, we want to root and align ourselves to the person of Jesus who perfectly, consistently, lovingly expressed himself in ways that honored the Father and honored and loved the people around him. That's really difficult for me because I want to focus my eyes on my circumstances, and what I need to do is focus my eyes on Jesus, who helps us analyze what we do and why we do it, helps us admit that we're the problem, and helps us move to action to more helpfully, lovingly express our emotions. Hey, I hope that encouraged you, perhaps even challenged you. If that's the case, we'd love for you to like this, subscribe to it, or even share it with others. We look forward to talking with you next time on Graceland Online. Take care.
Thanks again for watching Graceland Online. We hope that God spoke to you today through this video. And again, feel free to text us if you have questions about what you heard, or if there's a way that we can help you. You can also find more videos and resources at gracelandchurch.online. Thanks again for watching, and we hope you'll join us again soon.